You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara Ice Dogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Perlini! Overtime! Ice Dogs win!
Hosing!
To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Verhaeghe does it again! 52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs. Guys, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our Ice Dogs updates on there and our glorious graphics that Kyle makes for all of our live tweeting as well, and all the great gifts that we bring to you on the Twitterverse, the great Twitterverse of Elon Musk. And as well, you can follow us on... You can like us on Facebook and Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network, and you can also find us on our website, armchairgmsports.com, and whatever audio platform is best for you on demand when you're sitting inside, hopefully staying away from this storm that we've got here in the Niagara region. But anyways, my name is Brandon Caputo. I'm the host of the Dog Pound Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at bcaputo_AGM, and my co-host Kyle Akett. You can follow him on Twitter at justKyle51. Kyle, got some optimism to talk about this week. The Ice Dogs pick up 3 of 6 points since our last episode. And things, it was an overtime loss, a big win, and then just one of those games where everything went in the net.
God, speaking of storm, that game was a storm of goals. My God. When you see a game that ends 10-7, it's like, what the heck happened? Because I was at first, I don't know what was going on with CHL TV, because I couldn't see like first half of the game because it had no sound and it kept cutting out. So like my feed sucked. You got to be there in the arena, but my feed sucked. So I couldn't even tweet. So I'm like, all right, I'll check back later, and it's fine. But like every time I was checking the score on my phone before I put it back on the TV, it was like a different score. It was like a score from a different game. It was insane. 17 total goals in that game. But yeah, 3 out of 6 points. Some positivity there, especially now we're in, again, like we saw the title last episode, we're in the home stretch of the regular season and trying to end on a positive note. And, 3 to 6 points, that's a positive note to me.
It sure is. So on today's episode, we're going to have a few features. Obviously, the week wrap-up with head coach Kuwabara, as always, on the show. And then we've also got Ted Lehman's interview with a newly hired player development coach in Evan McGrath. So give some insight there from the new hire about player development and moving forward here with the Ice Dogs, and what Darren DeDobler's plan is for him moving forward in this role. So that'll be later in today's episode. But Kyle, we got a lot to go over as far as just milestone. It was like a milestone week for the Ice Dogs for whatever reason. It was the 1,000th game of the franchise, so that's huge. Got the graphic up on the video version there on YouTube.
Shout outs to JMB for making that. That's a beautiful graphic there.
Yeah, we got a lot of former Ice Dogs alumni there, and then you've got the 2 Eastern Conference championship teams up there, and you've even got a picture of the Jack and the M Center up on there. So 1,000 games for the Ice Dogs, Kyle, here in Niagara since they came here in 2007. Just crazy to think 1,000 games for this franchise.
God, I'm still remembering games back at the Jack. Like when we first started going and experiencing those games in those seats, those god awful, uncomfortable wooden foldable seats.
The
that are, like, from the
two-person
19
benches.
Yeah, from like the 1920s. And they playing in a barn, and like there's no jumbotron. The jumbotron's literally like a projection screen on the wall, and it's just, oh man, the memories that we had in that arena, and watching some of the Ice Dog players that were on that team to where they are today too. Some of them, it's crazy to think that it was such a cool thing. And even I know you must still have it somewhere, but I still have the playoff T-shirt from their last year at the Jack.
One last Jack.
Whoever came up with that slogan, props to you, because that's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, 1,000 game, there's a 1,000th game in the OHL. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of teams in the OHL that are older than Niagara Ice Dogs and are way beyond that. But for this franchise, you know, it's an achievement. It's a milestone achievement. As you've seen, you know, you see it in the OHL often, maybe not often as it is now, but there's a lot of movement in the OHL. Some teams fold, some teams move. So to able to get to 1,000 games without getting to that point is a really great achievement for the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Oh, it is. And again, we're hoping for another great 1,000 games upcoming here in Niagara. For those people that still think that the Ice Dogs are moving to Brantford to be with the Brantford Bulldogs, our good friends over there in Hamilton, but we always try to get a good laugh out of that still. But yeah, great to recognize that. To be honest, I totally forgot that we were even reaching 1,000 games. So good on the Ice Dogs for celebrating that. And Rod Mahood said it over the over the PA system before the game, so got the crowd really hyped for that. And it was obviously a great night there with the Black History Month with the Akil Thomas designed jerseys. But a few other things before we get into the actual games. We got 100 game milestones for 3 players this week. Juan Copeland, obviously friend of the show, Juan Copeland. Andrew,
great friend of the show, Juan Copeland,
or you can call him a friend. I don't know what he is at this point.
He's a guy, you know.
Yeah, he's a prankster. He thinks he's a fun guy, Juan Copeland. We've also got Andrew LeBlanc, one of the LeBlanc twins, and then Evan Klein. 100 games for Kleiner as well. So congratulations to those 3 players on reaching their 100-game milestone in the OHL. Kyle, as Juan Copeland always likes to say, how many tucks do you guys have in this league? Well, obviously the answer is 0. So congratulations. It's a good accomplishment having 100 games in the OHL.
You know what? Maybe Ryan Kuwabara can play me for a game so I can get a tuck, and then I can have something to go to. Like, coach, come on. Do it for me. Copeland's riding me every day. You know, just let me go out there, get a tuck, and then I'll call it a career.
Right. But unfortunately,
maybe the last game of the year, I'll ask him.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That'll be definite a we'll see moment. We've also got some shout-outs this week for people that came across over the weekend in Mississauga. Shout-out to Mr. Van Netten. So
hey.
Ryan Van Netten's father came up to me and said hello. Good to talk to him again. Always appreciate the kind words from him. And also Mr. Wysick, also friend of the show, wanted to say that we were doing a good job, and I told him I'd give him a shout out on this week's show as well, because I guess last week we rubbed a few feathers when we said the #1 fan award was going to either BCAT or Brian Drury, because a lot of people have made their voices or wanted their voices heard that they want to be the #1 fan. So I don't know. And even
BCAT's been here since day one. Okay. You guys got to understand this. BCAT is an original. Before we even released an episode, he was already following the show. He is the OG. So you got a stiff competition in BCAT, and my man's got one of the greatest display pictures of all time with a big giant bee in the Pink Panther. So
right
for a cat.
And I also want to give a shout out to Trevor as well. Skater Kid, I think it is. Always gives us a quality.
He was a skater kid.
He's always commenting on all of our videos and always appreciates our content. So thank you, Trevor, for coming up and saying hello, and the kind words really means a lot. So
now I got a question though, because we know Ryan Van Netten, and we know the NHL team he's a fan of. Did you happen to ask Mr. Van Netten if he was also a Toronto Maple Leaf fan?
I'm pretty sure he is, but I really don't want to talk about the NHL after last night.
As you sit there and wear a Buffalo Sabres jersey, how gutty is that? To wear a Sabres jersey after the Leafs did what they did last night. Not only that, I'm gonna put a little salt on the wound, just a little bit. Just gonna do like the Salt Bay, pinch of the salt. You technically paid Ryan O'Reilly last night to score a hat trick against you. How does that feel? Because he is still getting paid by the Buffalo Sabres for this last year.
Really doesn't feel any good, but I'm sure Ryan Van Netten really enjoyed that game last night. So
I'm sure you'll try to avoid him. Maybe I don't know if he remembers if you're a Sabres fan, but
he will. But I think I'm going to avoid everybody tonight at the game against Sault Ste. Marie,
especially Copes. Copes is going to give it to you.
I'm going to avoid every person. I might come in with like incognito outfit on and just.
You know what? There's one person you could probably get away with seeing because the guy's like the nicest guy in the world. Is so far that we met in the team is Kevin Heaton. My dude is like the most humblest guy I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah, we talked to him a few times at the auction. He's just
good kid, Kevin.
What a great kid. Great kid, man.
Speaking of the auction, Kyle, what did you think of the Black History Month jerseys designed by Akil Thomas?
Oh, those. As the kids say today, well, I guess I don't want to sound old. As I would say today, those are straight fire. Those things are disgusting, as in disgustingly good. Like they were amazing. Like Akil Thomas, like bravo on those jerseys. And I would love if they kept those jerseys around. Those were like the alternate jerseys. Nothing against our current black one. The exact same jersey as the Carolina Hurricanes jersey. That's nothing for me. But if these jerseys that Akil Thomas designed were our alternate jerseys from now on, why not? Why not? You know what I mean? What's the issue with that? There's no issue. And you're promoting equality at the same time. There you go. There you go.
Well, they'll have to get more of them because these ones have been auctioned off. If they want to do that.
It shouldn't be that hard. They're probably designed by... Like they're probably like they weren't even probably. Well, I imagine it'd have to be. Was it? Is this CCM that the official sponsor of the OHL? Like the jerseys and stuff. Is this still CCM?
I think so.
I imagine it would have to be by CCM, and I don't imagine like they would let Zale be it would be a Zale jersey.
Right.
I don't even know if Zale makes jerseys.
No.
But the design of the jersey, fantastic. I love them. They're amazing.
And we'll move on to another big milestone from this week, Kyle. Just what a performance from Zachary Lavoie. And obviously the name of this show was Zach Attack. 6 points.
We went through a couple of names to be honest.
But we went back and forth with some terrible names. We stumbled across Zach Attack. That was the one we were going with. So Zachary Lavoie, glad he's got another hat trick under his belt, as we tweeted yesterday, since his first hat trick came in the opening game of the season against the IceDogs while he was with Mississauga. So I'm glad there's a second one to talk about now, since that one's a tough subject to bring up. But yeah, 6-point output from Zach Lavoie ties a franchise record, and I got the tweet pulled up here from Darren Sawyer, the producer on Your TV Niagara for the OHL Tonight on Your TV. Zachary Lavoie's 6-point game was only the 7th in IceDogs history. The other six players were David Pecan in 2011, Ryan Strome in 2012, Freddie Hamilton on the same game as Ryan Strome, Brett Ritchie in 2012, Phil Tomasino in 2019, and Ivan Lodnia in 2020.
Oh, Lods!
Yeah.
God.
So there's been 6 other 6-point nights. Zach Lavoie is now the 7th. So we're still waiting for somebody to reach a 7-point game. Almost did it, but just not enough. And even in a 10-7 loss, quick shout out to Oshawa for naming Zach number 1 star, because we've seen how much of a debacle the 3 stars in-house can be, especially for the home teams.
Who decides those?
Not giving any of the road teams any love whatsoever. And in a 10-goal game for Oshawa, they could have easily just given 3 stars to their players, but they gave Zach Lavoie number 1 star, and the fans gave him the respect that he deserved for that performance.
Yeah, he's been such a breath of fresh air into this lineup since we acquired him. Officially now, as of today, he's played 27 games for the IceDogs. He played 28 for the Mississauga Steelheads. He accumulated 19 points, 11 goals, 8 assists with the Mississauga Steelheads in the beginning of the year. Since joining Niagara, 12 goals, 14 assists for 26 points since joining Niagara. He's shown to be an excellent center and someone that they can build around going into next year, along with some of the returning players and whoever they might get in the draft. Like we said last week on the show, like there's stuff, despite where we are in the standings, despite the season we had, there are still things to look forward to with this team, especially going into next year and the future of this club. And Zachary Lavoie is one of them, alongside his line mates like Kevin He. We can't speak enough of how much of a great rookie season that he's having. But Alex Asadorian is the craziest one out of the three, believe it or not, though. I'm not trying to sway away from Zachary Lavoie here and ruin a spectacular 6-point performance, but I just want to point out that Alex Asadorian, we know, like, when we acquired him, we said, like, obviously wasn't getting the playing time in Sudbury enough to produce. He's getting that in Niagara. Since joining Niagara, he played, so to put in perspective, he played 32 games for Sudbury this year. Only 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. He's only played 20 games. He's got 24 points for the Niagara IceDogs. 7 goals, 17 assists. Unbelievable. This line that they've been playing for the last couple of games. Zachary Lavoie, Asadorian, and that's the line of the future. This team, that's a line you ride with into the next year, and most likely will be a heavily point producing line next year.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 guys have been incredible. I asked head coach Ryan Kuwabara about that in the wrap up later, so stay tuned for that in segment 2, because they've just been like catalyst as far as, like, they're the spark plugs for the offense. Like, this is the line that if you're looking to score a goal, more times than not, they're the ones that get it going. And as of late, the IceDogs have scored a fair amount of goals, so the goal output has been there. I put Zachary Lavoie's hat trick up on the video version for you guys while we were talking. This guy's got a knack for the net, Kyle. They're just those guys. You see it, the natural goal scorers that just know where to go, and where to really put themselves in a good spot to bury pucks and to put them in the spots that they're looking for. Zachary Lavoie, definitely one of those guys to look for as far as, being able to place his shot more times than not where he wants it to go.
Exactly. No, you nailed it right in the head there. He's proven to be one exceptional player, and oh God, I can't believe that it's a player you sit there and go, damn, like, I can't believe we got this player. Like, this was, and when everyone was talking about, like the IceDogs making too many trades and stuff, look, it's kind of like these players are proving, kind of like the naysayers wrong, and proving that, this was actually a fantastic trade, someone we acquired that's going to be great for us and is still young and still can be here for another few years.
Same with Asadorian too. Both of them guys to build around, along with rookie.
And he's his first year.
Yep. Those are the guys you build around right there.
Yeah.
So just great week for those guys. As far as the point output, for a lot of IceDogs got on the board this week. I got it written down here. Zachary Lavoie, 4 goals, 4 assists in the 3 games. So really great week for him, obviously. Second place was Daniel Michaud with 2 goals and 3 assists. And third place was Alex Asadorian with a goal and 4 assists. And then we also had Kevin He with 2 goals, 2 assists. And then Andrew LeBlanc and Bronson Ride both with a goal and 3 assists. Declan Waddick also had 2 goals. And Valdemar William Hall with a 2-goal game was on the board there. Just they're getting a lot of contributions right now, Kyle, up and down the lineup, which is good to see. And it's resulting in them picking up points. And they're going to need that depth scoring if that's what they want to do the rest of the year. We're seeing it. All 3 or so lines have been scoring. They finally had, 12 forwards playing in Oshawa. But just how encouraging is it to see, them starting to get some goals up and down the lineup, which was really hard to do at the beginning of the year. You saw, the same 4 or 5 guys. But to get the bottom 6 scoring, that's the key.
Yeah. They've kind of found a groove on adapting to the lineup the style of game that Ryan Kuwabara is instilled in this team. And it looks like Kuwabara has found his set lineups, because now we go into every night And it's been like that for about a month or so, that it's the same lineups, right? Same lines. The only things that change is if there's an injury or suspension, and they kind of swap out. But when everyone's healthy enough and he has the lines that he wants to set, they're the same lines every night. So, and it's the build of that chemistry, and you see it on the ice, and you see like the effort level is still there. That's what's a really good thing to see with this team, is no matter how far down the standings they are or keep slipping or gain back up, the compete level is still there. And that's a fantastic thing to see.
As far as team stats go for the 3 games, the IceDogs power play was 7 of 15, so not too bad on the power play. They went 3 for 3 in the one game, 2 for 7 in Mississauga, 2 for 5 in the first game of the week. Can't even remember who they played in the first game now. Mississauga, thank you. Seems like 4 weeks ago. Penalty kill, they were 10 of 11 this week on the PK, so really good job there.
Wow.
They only gave up 1 power play goal all week, so another great job. Double thumbs up to the penalty kill this week. 10 of 11, that is incredible when you think about it, how lethal some of these power plays can be on opposing teams. So really good job there by the penalty kill. The shots for and against, again, it is what it is. Seems like the IceDogs are outshot every game, but you know what? They make the most of their opportunities. They were outshot 138-78 this week, but still picked up 3 points. So I guess you could take that as a positive, despite, having to have big performances from their goaltenders. Despite the Oshawa game, that was probably the one, obviously, giving up 10 goals. But the other games really doing a lot to keep them in it.
Yeah, and then Owen Flores having a really big game, too, against the Sudbury Wolves on the Sunday game and stopping almost 60 shots again. Just it's crazy. It's crazy to see that so many shots against, but something obviously to work on.
And face-offs, they were 90 of 188, so a 47.87 face-off percentage. Not the best, not the worst. Some of the games were better than others. Could be better. And then goals for and goals against, even 16 and 16. So
wow.
They gave up 16 and they scored 16 in the 3 games.
Just all over the place and not consistent.
So they scored 16 goals on 78 shots. They only gave up 16 goals on 138 shots. So their goals per shot percentage is looking pretty good right now.
Wow.
I guess
that's
one way
to see it.
But again, the penalty kill's been great. Power play, can be better, but I mean, they scored at least 2 power play goals in each of the 3 games. So I guess you really can't ask for much more from your special teams unit. It just seems like 5-on-5, this team has some work to do. And again, giving up a lot of shots right now. But again, that's where this team is right now. And we've been saying it for a few weeks right now. This is what the team is going to be the rest of the year. And they're playing to their strengths and, trying to work on their weaknesses. But they're playing to their strengths really well right now. And being able to score those goals on the power play and being able to, they might not put up the most shots in the league, but they make most of their opportunities when they do get those shots and do get those opportunities in tight.
Yeah.
So, with that said, Kyle, I think we're going to take our break today. It's a little bit shorter of an episode, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to discuss the week wrap-up with Ryan Kuwabara, and also Ted Lehman's chat with newly hired player development Evan McGrath. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs.
Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports and esports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive's game concept revolves around player props, which are simple over-unders on player stats. There are contests for traditional sports including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and cricket, as well as esports titles including CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and more coming soon. Here's how to play. Choose your lineup of over-unders for top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Each prop has a fantasy point total based on how likely it is to hit. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points and win a share of the prize pool. Thrive is awarded over $2 million in cash, so come and prop up today.
Hey, this is Landon Cato.
Hey, it's Juan Copeland. This is Kevin He, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast,
The official podcast
of the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Welcome back to Zack Attack here on the Dog Pound Podcast. Brandon Caputo and Kyle Lake back with you here, guys. If you're enjoying the video version of the podcast, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit subscribe, smash that bell for all updates on videos, versions of our podcast that get released here on the YouTube version, and being able to see our glorious faces here on the video form. And if you're on demand and audio, give us some love on Spotify, most likely, or wherever. Maybe Deezer, CastBox, Kyle. I don't know if we got any listeners on those, but
we're in your ears wherever you are.
Exactly. I like that. Maybe you need to make me a voice recording of that, and I'll just play that.
Some ASMR, okay.
Yeah, no. Anyways, guys, let's hit this interview with Evan McGrath that Ted Lehman did of Country 89 this last week. And then we'll come back and we'll kind of talk about what we think Evan's going to bring here to the team. But I'm interested to hear his thoughts on joining the Ice Dogs organization as of last week. So here's newly hired player development staff, Evan McGrath.
Evan McGrath is with us, part of the newest member of the IceDogs family. We're going to talk about player development. Before I transition into player development, fans would hit me if I didn't ask you this question. Based on your European experience, and you've made so many relationships, Evan, over the years, does that mean maybe you got an in or two when it comes to the import draft coming up early this summer?
Well, I think it's something that everybody that's involved is working pretty hard on right now when it comes to the Ice Dogs. I know there's been a lot of different ideas thrown around and a lot of different opinions. And again, it's going to be a process, but a fun one, I think. I really enjoyed getting to know Darren more, Mr. Dobler more. He's somebody that is very passionate about his team. And again, he really wants the team to do well and has great intentions. So the import draft's definitely going to be very important. Everybody in the organization, again, is working super hard at trying to make that right decision, right?
So with you coming in, Evan McGrath is with us. Did Darren DeDobler find you? Did you find Darren DeDobler? How did this get put to bed?
Just kind of mutual, I think. We kind of met a little bit at Christmas. I skated his son when he came home from school. We got to bounce some ideas off each other. We've kept in touch back and forth through those times, and just, I guess, kind of grown that relationship. And again, hopefully we can just continue to learn off each other and bounce ideas off each other. And again, I'm here to help in any way that the coaching staff needs, anything like that as well.
You're still a really young guy. You're not 40. I'm way past. But even that being said, what amazes me about this game is how much learning has gone on, probably almost in my lifetime. Are you seeing leaps and bounds how player development has changed just in your time as a player and now in player development?
Of course. It's grown immensely. There's so many people doing it. There's so many different forms of it. There's so many different ideas. Some good, some bad. I guess it depends what you look for. In my eyes, you need to see results. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be at a good pace, and it needs to just be consistently at a high standard. And that's something I think the Ice Dogs organization is aiming to get to be a top organization in those minds.
Now, can you quantify that, Evan? Can you sit there and say, okay, I need you to get this much better in your edge work. I need you to get this much better when you go to shoot the puck to a low corner. I mean, can you put that out to a player and say, this is what you need to work on exactly, and then almost be able to chart success?
Well, I don't think you can narrow it down to X's and O's when it comes to each individual player. I think there's ways of helping each player in different ways just to try to get the most potential out of each kid. I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of kids at this age group in the last couple of years. And they crave that that pace. They crave that direction. And there's a lot of great kids in this league, and there's a lot of great kids coming into this league that it just makes it a lot of fun to work with and try to mold and try to help as much as you can.
Now, you've obviously a watcher of a lot of hockey games, Evan McGrath. So we talked import draft from your time. You know, the IceDogs are going to have they will potentially have 2 top 5 picks coming up in the entry draft, as it were. Have you seen players? Do you cover that part? Do you look at that group coming in, and do you have any opinions on what's going to happen there?
Again, I'm lucky with my skills because I get to have a lot of these kids come to them. I get to see them pretty consistently. You learn a lot from these kids when you see them consistently like this. So that's kind of a benefit that I get to have. You learn not only how they play, but how their personality is and how they, I guess, view the game. So again, I guess I get to have a little bit of an advantage there. But I do know that our scouting staff has been working crazy hard. I know Darren has been all over the place. I can only imagine the kilometers put on his truck, looking for just the right players right now. So again, in my eyes, it seems like a lot of positive things are happening. It's not something that's just going to be a flick of the finger and it's going to be better. We're not going to win the league by 1 year, but we're going to work as hard as we can to just build as quick as we can and as well as we can at the right pace.
Well, yours truly and every IceDogs fan looking forward to just the steady improvement that's coming up. Evan McGrath, welcome player development. It's one of those jobs we're going to maybe not see you, but see the results, and appreciate you doing this. Thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having us. We're really excited about it all.
Coming to
Kyle, what did you think of first impressions of Evan McGrath? We talked about him last week on the show. You know, obviously his journey as a hockey player, now transitioning to this role as player development. He's obviously been through a lot in his hockey career, so it's really interesting to see, you know, kind of where he's going to, you know, show the kids as far as his journey and how he can kind of relate that to these kids now going through their own journeys.
Yeah, especially because he's young enough, right? You can tell that he's
relatable.
He knows, he's relatable. He knows what they're thinking. He knows how to instill what he's learned and for them to relate to it at this age, right? It's not someone that played in the 1940s and trying to teach them how they used to play old school hockey or how these people would say it nowadays. But it was a good talk with Ted. I love the appreciation for Darren Dobler there too. You know, he wants to do whatever he thinks he wants this team to be, and he's here to help in any way that he can. It's good to hear with Evan, but I think the main key here is, you know, the relatable factor, and that's huge, especially with kids at this age trying to find someone to have a player development coach but also relate to them at the same time. So and have the, you know, that experience behind him from his hockey career surely helps as well at the same time.
And I like how he said there's many forms and ideas of player development. It's not just X's and O's. So again,
exactly.
he's open to, you know, the new ways that people, you know, want to try to absorb information, and the way that this new generation, the way that they kind of go about it different than maybe our generation or the generation of our parents. Like, it just changes, and you have to be able to adapt and relate to what these kids need and how they can get better. And I think Evan McGrath, like Ted said, he's young enough to be able to, you know, these kids can really trust him and believe in what he's saying, because he's just a few years out of the league, or out of playing professional hockey, that is. So he's been there. He's had a long career, and now he's transitioning to helping these kids, you know, take it to the next level. And he's been a successful junior hockey player himself, and then going to the pros and grinding his way through, you know, to a career in Europe. So I think there's a lot to be learned from a guy like Evan McGrath.
Yeah, and also like him saying that he's also willing to learn from them too, like things that these players can teach him as well, to also stay relatable and to stay to the pace of what hockey is becoming, and that's a faster game. So I'm excited for this. I think he could be a very, very big help for the IceDogs in the player development category. And, you know, Ted brought up the draft. Like, he still keeps an eye on the kids that are potentially coming into the team as well as the kids that are on the team. So that's a good sign.
Absolutely. So with that said, let's move into our last segment of the day, and that is our week wrap-up with the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Ryan Kuwabara, following the 3 out of 6 points from this past week.
Coach K
from this past week's games. Coach, a couple of interesting games here, back-to-back, 2 afternoon games. Big win on home ice. Let's talk about that first against Sudbury. Just a great night, great cause with the Black History Month jerseys. 6-2 win. Just getting a couple wins here. What does that do for the confidence of the guys and getting a lot of goal outputs from a lot of guys right now? Just how encouraging was that to see?
Yeah, it's great for how we're moving forward for sure. It's always tough to go through the stretch of games we've been going through with a lot of games in a short amount of time. But these guys keep finding the energy to come out and perform well, and I think we're getting a little bit better. They're getting more comfortable with each other and systems. And, we saw the benefit yesterday, and today was kind of a shootout at the OK Corral a little bit. But, that's what happens when it's our third game in 4 nights sometimes too.
A 10-7 game, it just seemed like whenever a team was taking a shot, it was going in. Like, what do you tell the guys in a game like that where it just seems like it's back and forth and it's really like a shootout out there? Is there anything that you really can say, or is it just trying to get through the motions back and forth? You guys, they scored 3 quick goals and you scored 3 quick goals to get right back in that game. So just being in those scenarios as a player and a coach, what do you say to them?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just, when we got down there, it's just we're not out of this till the time's up, right? Let's just push the pace on them and challenge them and get pucks to the net and then see what happens. And they did a great job of that. They were able to capitalize on those and get us back into it. And it's always tough as a coach because you want to harp on defense and stuff's going in, but you want to get on offense. So it's definitely a tough situation to be in, but tough game in 3 and 4 nights, that's for sure.
For sure, and that Asadorian and Lavoie line just continues to be the spark plug for your team. Mm-hmm. Whenever you guys really need a goal, they're really producing at a high level. Zach with 6 points tonight, Kev with 2 more goals, continuing his great rookie campaign, and Asadorian's been great since he's come over. So what do you say about that line and them continuing to kind of lead you guys on a nightly basis here?
Yeah, they've been great, right? It's nice to have Waddick back too. It kind of adds a little bit of spark. It seems to Michaud and LeBlanc up there, so it kind of gives us a 1-2 punch a bit. But yeah, they have great chemistry right now. It seems like they know where each other's going to be, and they're putting pucks there and they're driving to the net and they're playing the game the right way. So it's positive for us for sure because we're going to need those goals to go in.
And for many different reasons, you guys haven't had a full lineup of 12 forwards, 6 D, and 2 goalies in quite a while, back-to-back games. So what does that do for you as a coach, being able to, roll 4 real lines there and not have to double shift guys in and out and, having to tire other forwards out? So just being able to roll those 4 lines, how big was that for you?
Yeah, it's always good when you can have, the ability to put 4 lines out there. It manages minutes. Definitely, you can kind of spread it around a little bit, especially when we've been short. Some guys maybe are playing quite a bit, so it gets tough on the load for them, definitely. But it's just a work in progress too, a little bit. Sometimes we're just trying to figure out who plays best with who. So.
And, your goaltending's been very good for you lately. They've come up with a couple of big performances. When they have an off night like that, what do you say to them? Is there anything that you can say, a bad night here or there? Or do you think it was basically a whole team effort, just being able to, or not being able to kind of have that whole team defense, not just the goalies?
Yeah, it's tough, You never know what the answer is there, unfortunately. Sometimes, goalies have off nights, and it is what it is. But, overall in the body of work, the guys have been great. They've given us a chance to win every night. They battle hard, they make saves, and tonight maybe it just wasn't there quite as much as it has been in the patch. It was just tough to see, but our guys defensively maybe were a little, their details were off.
And last question, 2 back-to-back afternoon games. Is there anything different from the afternoon games to the night games that you can really see as a coach, or that tell the guys, to get prepared? Obviously, you're playing earlier in the day, so you kind of have to get your prep over with earlier. Is there any difference or any pros and cons to playing, back-to-back afternoon games instead of the usual night games?
Yeah, well, I think just if you're home, it's probably not as bad because you can manage your rest a little bit easier. But when you have to travel and you have to do stuff like that and get a good meal in, it's important. But it's tough. It's tough. Like I said, it's two o'clock games and 3 and 4 makes it tough, right? Especially these are young guys. They're not pros. They're not veterans that have been through it year in, year out, and they're learning too. So it's good to see the effort that we didn't kind of fold the tent there. They wanted to battle back. They put ourselves in a position to battle back. We couldn't finish it off.
Head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Ryan Kuwabara, thanks so much for doing this. Get some rest, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks very much.
Kyle, takeaways from Coach K.
Glad it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show with the chemistry that when he's got everyone in the lineup to have that kind of 1-2 punch kind of line with the LeBlanc, Waddick, and Michaud line, then the Asadorian, he and Lavoie line. It's good to have, and it allows you to create the chances to win games. So it's good to see that he sees the chemistry, and that's what they're working on. And then right at the end, they're mentioning the having to adjust and play to their strengths in when they have road trips like they do, which is tough in the OHL. Again, like he said, the players are not used to that. They're not veterans that have gone through that in their lives. It's tough to adjust to have to eat on time and eat the right meals and kind of fit that all into a tiny window. So it's an adjustment, and it's part of the learning curve in the OHL.
Three games in 4 nights too. Forgot to mention that, and 2 back-to-back afternoon games, which is definitely interesting. And the guys aren't used to playing back-to-back afternoon games like that. But given the circumstances, luckily for them, they've got 3 home games coming up this week. So
4, I believe, in a row, technically.
Yeah,
3
4
this
in a
week.
row. Yeah,
4
in a row, but 3 this week until next week's episode.
Yeah.
So Sault Ste. Marie tonight, making their only trip down to Niagara all season long, and welcome to Niagara in a snowstorm. So, I mean, they should be used to that up there in Sault Ste. Marie, no? But should be like nothing for them. And then
they probably have a snowplow like on the front of the bus, so they're good.
A snowplow, yeah. And then 2 more games on the weekend. So again, 3 home games.
Yeah, another Sunday afternoon game. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and then they play Sudbury. Sudbury's back, so poor Sudbury had to come here last Sunday. Then they go home and they got to come all the way back down to Niagara again on Friday night, and then
made the schedule.
And then we welcome in the Barrie Colts, another divisional opponent. So 2 more divisional opponents this week
games
for the IceDogs, Sudbury and Barrie. Again, those Sunday afternoon games are quite interesting. Something we'll see the rest of the year here. But Kyle, again, Sioux not doing too well right now. Sudbury is obviously on that fringe playoff spot right now. Barrie's doing really well as of late. What are your hopes for the IceDogs this week? Because they came off a pretty optimistic week last week, picking up 3 out of 6 points.
I think if they play the way they've been playing in the wins that they have in the games that they have been most aggressive, they can win a couple of games here. The only one I'm not looking forward to is the Barrie one, to be honest. The Barrie one's going to be a very tough one. Barrie is just an extremely hard team to play against. Sudbury is almost like a roll of the dice. It's either we're going to win big against them or they're going to win big against us. So we'll see what happens there. Sioux is a different animal. First time that they're coming in to Niagara for this season.
First time in a couple years too.
yeah, and the last time we played them was back in November 5th. We lost 5-2. So obviously the IceDogs are going to want to look for revenge there and win at home. But being at home, you get the advantage there, especially a string of games at home. And that's kind of like also, I'm looking ahead a little bit, but that's going to be the theme for the rest of the season. There's 14 games left. 9 out of the 14 games are at home.
Yeah. They got a lot of their road trips out of the way the first half of the year, so I guess that helped them for the latter half of the schedule. It's unfortunate that, it's going to be tough sledding to as far as, needing those home games late in the season to make the playoffs. We don't want to use that P word right now. But it's good for them to be able to gain some confidence, sleep in their own bed, as Ryan Kuwabara said, and just be able to have quality meals and, be ready to go here. So they should have no excuses moving forward. Like you said, 9 out of the last 14 games, getting up and putting out a good effort there in front of the Meridian Center crowd. Great crowd, by the way, against Sudbury for that Black History Month. That was incredible. And the fact that the IceDogs played one of their best games of the year at home, getting that 6-goal output and just everything about that day was special, and all the groups in attendance. It was great, and it's great to see that, despite a couple of rough seasons here, the fans are still as passionate and optimistic about this team as, we possibly can be given the circumstances.
Exactly. It's going to be 2 straight, unfortunate last place, potentially, end of the season standings look, but the fans are proving that they are the most dedicated and greatest fans in the OHL, because this team nearly sells out no matter where they are in the standings. So if you still can, get yourself down to the next 9 out of the 14 games left this season and cheer this team on and be excited for the future, because the future is looking bright with this team.
Yep, and we got another dog matchup tonight. Sioux's in town, so should be a good one there.
Yeah, technically they are.
Yeah. The Greyhounds and IceDogs are the dog v dog matchup. Another one. We'll only get it twice a year. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs. Make sure to follow us at Dog Pound Podcast and like us on Facebook and Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network and giving us some love on audio or video wherever you're listening to us right now. Until next week, my name is Brandon Caputo for Kyle Lakett. Go Dogs go, bark, bark, bark. And we'll talk to you guys again next week. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.